Hey, good morning, and another Saturday is upon us, and that means it's Cafe BTW, a morning gaming podcast. And of course, as you can see, we do not have a guest today. It's going to be fun because we're going to walk through the history of point-and-click adventure games. And our guest today is just a static image of one of my favorite point-and-click adventure game characters, Roger Wilco from Space Quest, which we will talk about, of course. But I have a few things. And hey, Acid, thanks for joining. Genzo, of course, I was always here talking about Zach, which he describes as a company that sold elevator music called Muzak. I love elevator music. How can you not go wrong with elevator music? That being said, it's a wonderful Saturday here in LA. I got a few things happening today that I'm excited about, that I'm going to be venturing out into the world of retro gaming. What up, Biff? My man, the man that tells me this is his Saturday morning cartoon. I love it. We need that Canadian representation, and you hit all cylinders. So I just wanted to say, it's a beautiful day here in LA. It's going to be 70s. I heard it snowed on the East Coast, or it's pretty cold over there. Nope, you are late. Show is already ending. No, it's not ending. It's just beginning. And I'm so excited because I love point-and-click adventure games. So the topic today is excellent and going to be exciting. So let's get going with some kind of things I want to walk through and talk about. First of all, really excited about this. I don't know if we have a command yet, Genzo, but we have a YouTube channel, guys. I finally did it, and I don't know if I really spoke to this that much, but we are posting all of the VODs available on YouTube now. So as soon as this episode goes up, I'm going to put the links on YouTube. I don't think I have the link up, but here's the channel, everyone. Please subscribe. What's great about the YouTube channel is that I am migrating all 69 episodes of Cafe BTW. That's right, folks. We have had over 69 episodes, or about 69 episodes of this show. So I am migrating this, and I'm also posting what they call YouTube Shorts, which are just fun videos. But you can get full-on episodes. If you miss the show, check out our VODs on YouTube. And I guess we'll make a command, Genzo. And hey, No Fear, what's up? Cold as fuck, jealous of your 70s. Yeah, I'm sorry, No Fear. It is nice here in LA today. Our winter has been really warm, to be honest. Like, it has not been cold at all. Good news, though, I will be going skiing soon, so I'm excited about that. But just wanted to mention, we have the YouTube channel now, so please check it out if there's episodes that you want to see or old episodes you forgot about. Happy to send you that way. Now, something exciting today, which is really important. I'm going to be attending what's called the Valley Retro Game Swap here in Los Angeles. Yes, let's Osprey ski, Viv. I would love the Osprey ski with you, or whatever, however you say it. So today I'm going to a really cool retro store called Game Realms, and I'll show you a little bit of their store. Game Realms is a really cool store with some really awesome owners, and they've been around for, I'd say, since 2017, and they do this really cool event where not only do they get other retro stores to do it, but they get vendors and like YouTube hunters and people that sell video games to get together at a swap meet. And we go to the Valley Retro Game Swap. So I'm going to go shoot some content there. I'm on a little bit of a budget, so I got to be careful not to spend too much, but really want to support them. There's going to be stores like Game Tower there, which is a store that I support very much in LA. A few other stores will be there, but Game Realms primarily is the store that's running it. And if you're in the LA area, it's from 12 noon to 4 p.m. today. Really fun. Not only is it just a bunch of people selling retro games, there's a bunch of cool people in the community there talking, chatting. And I have another event happening at the end of the month. We're going to talk more about that next week. I'm going to be doing media at the SoCal Retro Expo in Ontario, California, which is one of the biggest retro events of the year. So I'm super happy and excited. Jenza says, we're worried about dealing with icing right now. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about that. But if you happen to be in the LA area, this is such a cool thing. They do it like once every 2 months or so. I'm going to go after some NES games today because I am recollecting NES games. Now, before we get into the main topic at hand today, I am so disgusted by these graded games. folks, just a week and a half ago, a John Madden for Genesis, a very common game, the first John Madden for Genesis, a very common game, sold for almost $480,000 in auction. This is the most baffling price purchased for a graded game I've ever seen. Madden, this Madden in particular, you can get it complete in box. It's not that expensive, and I don't care if it's sealed, but it's not worth $500,000. So who the hell is paying for these graded games? Who the hell is doing this? This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. A Madden game selling for $500,000, more than, I mean, that's a few houses in other states. In LA, that's a pretty nice house. Can you like, what is wrong with these people? This and we've had episodes on this. I had Retro Dad from TikTok, and we talked very much about the whole problem with graded games. But the fact that I have to wake up one morning and see that someone bought a Madden graded for 9.2, whatever that means, for $480,000? Are you fucking kidding me? So crazy. What you have here is a guy who knows how to sell a game. Yes, no fear. It must have been filled with gold, because it just baffles me that, and it's such a problem right now. Like, the fact that there's this like market for graded games, and the people that are buying graded games are just like doing this like market manipulation. And the fact that the Madden game sells for $500,000 is just mind-blowing. There is no rarity in this game. This game is not rare. This isn't an Earthbound. This isn't a Chrono Trigger. This is not a rare game. I don't understand. Can someone tell me what's going on, please? Can tell me why someone would why would you pay $500,000? Like, seriously, what's wrong with you? Anyway, sorry, I had to talk about this because it's EA. Get out of here, Genzo. It's not just because it's EA. They're doing this with other games too. EA's got their, that's a whole nother episode. I can't stand EA. But it's really these like really wealthy people that are all circling and buying these games for these ridiculous prices I have no idea why. Anyway, I just wanted to share that, and I had to vent a little bit because I saw it on the Completely Unnecessary podcast. Shout out to Pat and Ian for covering it and bringing it to my attention, because I guess I didn't really see it in the news or anything, but it's here, $480,000 for auction that happened to sell about 2 weeks ago. Yes, I understand. It totally makes sense. Absolutely. The Madden games should go up in value, but absolutely not $500,000 for this game, Genzo. This game is not at all worth this much. So it's kind of like using the fact that Madden died and then pushing it in auction a week later or so from his death, that people think that this game would be valued. This game is not at all worth this much money at all. Not even close. It's messed up. I don't know what to say, but enough of that. So I want to ask chat, have you ever played a point-and-click adventure game? And I'm talking about point-and-click adventure games from the 80s, 90s that kind of defined the world of video games at the time, because we were in a time where technology kind of pulled us back from being able to release games that were really, really graphically power. So a lot of point-and-click adventure games came out where you would use a mouse and you would point and click and choose your own adventure. And a lot of these games were so graphically beautiful because that's how they were able to get games to be kind of like really powerful and really awesome. So first we got to talk about what is a point-and-click adventure game. And before I get in, let me read some of the comments. Biff says the serial number on the particular game had the numbers for Joe Montana and Jerry Rice on it. That's exactly what you said. Market manipulation. Retro cards are the new Pokemon cards. Pac-Hell. It's true. They are, but there's like, I collect games in a very interesting circle that, where there's retro gamers that don't believe in graded games, and, there's still decently priced things out there and you're not paying $500,000 for it. So, perspective there. So let's talk, what is a point-and-click adventure game? According to Wikipedia, It's defined as a point-and-click adventure games are those where the player typically controls their character through a point-and-click interface using a computer mouse or similar pointing device. Through additional control schemes may also be available. The player clicks to move the character around, interact with the non-characters, often conversation trees and examples of clicking on objects, game settings, where characters bring things into their inventory. So many older point-and-click adventure games include a list of on-screen verbs to describe specific actions. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. And for me personally, this is going to hit home. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go through and look at some of the most famous and maybe not so famous point-and-click adventure games that were ever created and how the genre became so popular and how the genre kind of fell off. And, you know, as we got better with technology and investing in games, you know, 3D platformers started to take off, and a lot of games were getting so much better visually that point-and-click adventure games eventually died out. But there was sort of a resurgence of late, and there's evolutions of point-and-click adventure games that I'll get into. But before we get into that, it's very important to kind of note there was the text adventure games, which they call MUDs, a multi-user dungeon. And my brother, for instance, plays a game called Gemstone. But here you're seeing one of the most famous ones, which is Zork. Zork was a super well-known which wasn't point and click, but it was a text adventure. So you would be kind of like creatively texting your way through an environment, telling you, oh, pick up this item by typing this, or X, Y, Z. So Zork has a place in kind of the history of how point-and-click adventure games started, and MUDs, that's what they're called, MUDs, a multi-user dungeon game, which is a text-based adventure. Biff said available on Black Ops 3 too, I believe. Oh, really? I didn't know that. That's really cool. Another text adventure game that should be mentioned for the time it came out, and a great book, by the way, and a pretty good movie, is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy had a point-and-click adventure game as well. Obviously, you could see there's no graphics here. It's just texting and pretty much putting in commands of what you want to do. But what's kind of cool about this, it's almost like playing a book where you're texting. And believe it or not, folks, people are still playing MUDs today. People are still playing text adventure games today. So should be noted that it's really, really, really kind of the very early infancy of point-and-click adventure games. That being said, we'll start moving into kind of where it all started. Now, there was a game that came out called Mystery House, and this was a game that kind of took the text adventure and said, let's make a graphical interface for it. And this game, Mystery House, is considered one of the early depictions of a point-and-click era. So kind of like when the point-and-click adventure started. And as you can see in this game, there's definitely text commands. They're not yet doing the point-and-clicking that we're going to learn and kind of grow to get an understanding of as we go through this process of breaking down the point-and-click adventure games. But has to be noted that Mystery House, which you might not have ever heard of, as you can see, started to implement graphics into their text adventures. So there's also another game like this called Hugo. Let me see if I can find this, which I played. Maybe it wasn't Hugo. Oh, was it? Wait, let's see. Yeah, Hugo 2, which this was an interesting one where graphics were starting to get better, and this is all text command based. It's not point and click yet, but as you can see, there's color and there's actually Mystery House available on HD cassette. But as you can see, things are slowly evolving with these games where you're able to see colors and more graphics getting involved and implemented into these. This is called Hugo 2 Whodunit, which is kind of like an adventure game where you got to solve a mystery. Really hard game, to be honest. And I did play it, but gets a little difficult. And back in those days, you couldn't just Google how to get through a walkthrough on these games. It was really hard. It would take months to figure out even a puzzle. Another game that kind of popped out that started to evolve the point-and-click adventure games is Labyrinth, which was not a point-and-click adventure game. I believe it was text-based. But as you can see, it's evolving, and it's a good example of getting started with licensed games. And obviously, Labyrinth is a great movie. A fantastic movie, believe it or not. But it really goes to show you that, like, look how clever they were. It actually looks pretty good. I mean, it's not terrible, right? It's actually pretty darn good. It's got all the themes and kind of looks of Labyrinth. It's actually pretty impressive in my opinion. And this came out, I think, in 1986, just to give you all, or it might have been a little bit after that, but really cool, actually. Just really, really neat. Now, moving on. Now we're getting into a game that revolutionized the whole industry of point-and-click adventure games, and that has to be Maniac Mansion. So with Maniac Mansion, it introduces the mouse and the click and the point, and obviously you see all these adjectives at the bottom like push, open, get, new kid, pull, close, use, turn off, give, go to, read, and turn off. And really a fantastic game. Holds up today, honestly. You could play this game, and it is just so much fun. And I think there's a remaster as well. You could probably get it on Steam or GOG. But as you can see, the kind of interface is starting to come to life, where point-and-click adventure interfaces are actually becoming a thing here. And just really, really cool. And if you've never played Maniac Mansion, I recommend it. And also, by the way, there was a TV show that came out. It wasn't spot on to the game, but it was kind of in reference to, obviously, Maniac Mansion. But I don't know if anyone remembers that there was actually a TV show. And she's playing a Game Boy there. Nice. It wasn't that good, but I actually watched the show. But I didn't really understand the connection between this and the game. I think it had sort of through lines that were similar, but just so you know, there was a TV show in the 80s called Maniac Mansion. And this is it right here. I forget this guy's name. He's kind of like a character actor that's been in like a lot of stuff, but and that's really cool. I should save this because there's a scene with her in the Game Boy. Do you see that? I didn't even know that. Let's see. There she is, playing Game Boy. That's really cool. So another important thing to introduce is because with Maniac Mansion came the operating system that we would fall in love with and would be used for many point-and-click adventure games, and it's called SCUM. And you might not have heard of this, but SCUM means Script Creation Utility for Maniac Mansion. So they actually developed the OS operating system for Maniac Mansion that would become the underlying operating system for developing point-and-click adventure games going forward. Give you some more definition here. SCUM is a video game engine developed by Lucasfilm Games, later renamed LucasArts, to ease development of their graphic adventure game Maniac Mansion in 1987. It was used as the engine for later LucasArts games. It falls somewhere between a game engine and a programming language, allowing designers to create locations, items, and dialogue sequences without writing code in language in which the game source ends up. So really cool. So they actually were just trying to figure out how do we develop these games a little bit easier, a little bit faster. But SCUM would go on to be one of the most important aspects of these games. Now, games start to roll out. Some more adventure games like Zach McCracken, who I don't know if anyone has ever played this game. This was kind of like a step up from Maniac Mansion, taking everything they've done for Maniac Mansion and putting it into another kind of, obviously, adjectives galore here. You have an inventory. The graphics are getting better. And as you can see, with these type of games, you're able to have better graphics and have some kind of enjoyable experience in a time where video games really sucked. I mean, if you look at the Atari 2600 at the time, they weren't as graphically powerful. The NES was great, but still there was some graphical, resistance there. So these computer games were just starting to grow and get more involved and get even better. So I don't know if you've ever played Zach McCracken, but that's one to note. Moving up the chain, we're going to move into the Indiana Jones point-and-click adventure series. This was the first one, which we'll talk about the later one down the line, but this is Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade. And as you can see, it's just bubbled with beautiful imagery for the time. It's fun, it's silly, and it's an outstanding game. The Fate of Atlantis, which we'll talk about, is by far one of the best point-and-click adventure games, but we're still not in that timeline just yet. But it's still really, really super cool to note and see how awesome this is. And look at the imagery. Obviously they're fighting the Nazis. Symbolism in these games is very important. And obviously the bad guys you're fighting are the Nazis. This is a top-down section of the game. I think this is when you dress as a Nazi and sneak into the base, which was really cool for the time. Take down those evil Nazis, right? Moving on, one of the most famous and well-known point-and-click adventure games that ever played was Loom. Loom is a really cool game involving music and just really fun, really enjoyable. Lots to do here. And if you've never played Loom, I think there's an HD remaster, and absolutely, absolutely love this game. And if you've never played it before, I recommend checking out. And a lot of these games have remasters, by the way, so definitely give these all a go. But Loom was really cool. A fantasy-style game with just beautiful imagery. Just look at the landscape and the colors, like very storybook, and just these point-and-click adventure games. I can't tell you how much it hits in the feels when you pull these up and you kind of walk through them like I'm doing right now, and we kind of look and really take in what they were. Lore of the Tempress, that's another one that was pretty good. I actually didn't play this one, but I heard it was very good, fantasy-based. But as you're seeing a theme here, you're seeing very similar types of graphic power used here, and the style of the games, the way the players walk, where you're going, how you're selecting where you're going. Obviously, you can see the click mouses over here. But this is one I don't know much about, so I can't speak to it too much, but I want to make sure I noted it. Space Quest, which is by far one of my favorite series in all of point-and-click adventure games. I believe they had 6 versions of this game. This is the first one. And the really funny thing about this, and as you see below me, we have Roger Wilco in the guest screen. He is your protagonist. He is like a Zap Brannigan before Zap Brannigan ever existed. But here's the plot of Space Quest is a space janitor. You're literally a space janitor that I think takes over a janitorial spaceship, and that's kind of like your job. You're a janitor in space. Let me see if I can find when you start sweeping in this game. And something goes awry in the station, and then you're the janitor, and you actually escape out of a pod and adventure out. But man, this game is so remarkable for its time. And this is the first one, but look at how cool it is. You're traveling in space as a space janitor, just all the cool imagery. And this is a really, really old game, honestly. But actually the text and the descriptions in this game are so good. It's so funny. Just such a really good game. The first one's kind of hard to play a little bit, but it's definitely really cool. We'll get to kind of the later game as we move up this chain. Another game that was kind of sick and twisted was Leisure Suit Larry, which a lot of people back in the days considered kind of like a porn game. But it's about some sicko, which, you know, with the climate of today, I really don't think Leisure Suit Larry would have been made. But he's still a part of this kind of lore of the history of point-and-click adventure games, and you can't really talk about point-and-click adventure games without mentioning Leisure Suit Larry. And I remember the story was my neighbor across the street's brother had a computer, and my friend, and we were like, I don't know how old we were, like 11 or 12, and he's like, hey, my brother's got Leisure Suit Larry on his computer. Do you want to try to boot it up while my mom's out and like he's not there? So like we were sneaking into his brother's room to play this game because we thought it was like very sexual, a lot of sexual, connotations, like just a lot of innuendos or whatever you want to call them. And I just remember we were playing and his mom like walks in and says, hey, what are you guys doing? And we're like, oh, we're just playing a video game. And they're like, what game are you playing? And we're like, I forgot, we made up some name. But back then, like, Leisure Suit Larry was not meant for kids. So, I mean, it's about a scummy guy that all his goal is to have sex. I mean, that is what this game is about. But definitely a part of the history of point-and-click adventure games. And, I mean, you can't talk about them without mentioning Leisure Suit Larry. So, and I believe they've done some remasters, and they actually released a new version of this game. All right, moving up the chain, We're going to go to King's Quest, which is definitely an OG. Just can't talk about point-and-click adventure games without mentioning King's Quest, which is a throwback to, those early fantasy games. Think about Skyrim today and all these fantasy games, and the type of game we had here. It was just kind of, and obviously this is a very early game, and you could tell the graphics aren't great, but just really fun because nothing was better than a fantasy-themed point-and-click adventure game. So I definitely really enjoyed this one. And I don't know if anyone's ever played this before, but definitely recommend checking out the King's Quest series. King's Quest is definitely a part of my history. I didn't so much like it. I thought it was kind of boring at times, at least the first one, but they did get better as the series went on. All right, moving on the chain. Police Quest. Now, Police Quest is really cool. I really liked Police Quest, and I think Police Quest 2, I replayed Police Quest 2 about a year ago. The only problem with this game is so real to life. Like, it's almost so real that it's boring because you play a cop and you got to do the cop things, and it's not as like fun as you think, like running around shooting criminals. You actually like have to deal with like the trials and police reports and all that stuff. But to be honest, it was still cool because the whole idea was to kind of give you that feel that you were a cop. That's what these games made you feel. They like took you away and made you feel like you were those jobs or whatever they represented, whether it was King's Quest, where you were in a fantasy world, whether it was Police Quest, which you were in a police world, whether it was Space Quest, where you were, a space janitor trying to save the world. But can't talk about point-and-click adventure games without mentioning Police Quest. Now, Gabriel Knight, which is a very dark, kind of depressing game. You could see how the level of dialogue kind of picks up. They really do a really good job at, you actually got to work. Exactly. That's how Police Quest is. You feel like you actually have to work in that game. Gabriel Knight's really cool. It's a really, really beautiful game. There's been a few remasters and a couple other iterations of this game. It's kind of dark though. But I definitely recommend it as definitely one of the classic point-and-click adventure games that should be noted. I should give this a replay. It's really interesting, but I like the cutaway dialogue scenes, just giving you a little bit more into the story and pulling you in, because nothing was, the important thing about a point-and-click adventure was the story. And Gabriel Knight did a great job in storytelling, and a really fantastic game. That's Clue. I think this YouTuber is just cutting away to stuff. We got a bunch more to go. Broken Sword, The Shadow of the Templars, which, as you can see, the design, I actually replayed this game about a year ago as well, and I love the cartoony look, and as you can see, like the level of animation here is getting better. It's feeling more like you're playing an actual cartoon as opposed to just like some like half graphical game like you saw like the early King's Quest games. Like this game is starting to level up with beautiful animations and just really well done content here. And look at all the detail, all the wonderful detail in these point-and-click adventure games, because that's where they thrived, right? In the actual scenes. They have a little character that walks through, but all the detail and the artistry is really incredible and actually really, really cool to note. And I just love looking at it, especially this one. This one has some beautiful, beautiful imagery and scenes. Just the depth and the detail, just on everything, little bit of detail everywhere. And just such a fantastic game and a fun game. It's an adventure, detective style game where you're just trying to solve a mystery. And I mean, that's what most of these are, solving mysteries. One of my favorite point-and-click adventure games is Beneath a Steel Sky. And this is another example of beautiful, beautiful sci-fi imagery and just fantastic art. I don't know what to say more than, if you haven't played Beneath a Steel Sky, there's actually a remaster as well for this game, and it is beautiful. And let's skip through and see some of this imagery. Like, look at the detail. And actually, that's kind of cool because it looks like it's like a flat screen, almost in the future. Where was that? Here we go. Like, look at the flat screen TV over here. But look at just even like this bedroom, right? Just the beautiful detail. There's the painting. There's the window where you can see the skyline of the outside city over here. There's some kind of fish poster here with the fish tank. And even though it's very pixelated and has that look, but it really brings out that beautiful, beautiful depiction. I know you're being sarcastic, but think about the time these games were made. This was what they were doing. This is how they made it real. I think it's beautiful. It's absolutely stunning in its own way. But of course, probably one of the greatest games of all time. Stop ruining my dreams. All right, I'll stop ruining your dreams, Genzo. Secret of Monkey Island is honestly in my top 10 of greatest games of all time. And if you look up a lot of like greatest games of all time, Monkey Island with Ron Gilbert, Tim Schafer, who's with Double Fine right now and does games like Psychonauts, and just like some of the best stories, some of the funniest dialogue, one of the greatest games ever made. And I don't know what to say more than I love this game, and I have fond memories. I probably remember playing this game the most. Acid says, it's crazy because there's a big resurgence for the look in the new games, the classic pixel. Yeah, and these games depict the classic pixel by far 100%. And as you can see, like Monkey Island has that really cool pixelated design. And what's really good about Monkey Island, though, is the writing. The writing is funny. The dialogue is insanely funny. And the story is just great. And it's very self-aware. Monkey Island is self-aware. There's actually a scene in Monkey Island where you die, and then you're like, wait, you can die in this game? Where then all of a sudden Guybrush Threepwood, which is our wonderful protagonist here, he like bounces back up and he says, rubber tree. So even though he fell off a cliff, he comes back and says, oh, you can't really die in this game. But a great point, Acid. It really gives a throwback to how today there's so much love for pixelated art. And if you go on Twitter, there's a whole community of pixel art where every day they're posting pixel art, whether it's in reference to like a pixel art fishbowl or a beautiful landscape in pixel art. It's really become its own genre. And I love pixel art. And I think that I think these games were just so much a part of that history. Now, the sequel is one of my favorites as well, which is Monkey Island 2, LeChuck's Revenge, which if you don't know the game's storyline, LeChuck is kind of like the one-eyed Willy of the game, kind of like the evil pirate bad guy of the game. And as you can see, this came out about a year later from the original one, but still depicts some beautiful art. You know, if Genzo was in real life right now and in a pirate space here, he would think it was real. That's how real this is. But as you can see, still beautiful pixel art, funny dialogue scenes. And I think in this version, you know, Guybrush is now a full-on pirate, and now he's like become what he wanted to be, which is a pirate. And then you're just going on some fun adventures. It's just such a great game. You'd be doing yourself a disservice if you didn't play Monkey Island, even if you've never played this game before. There's plenty of remasters. You can play originals. I believe Steam has the collection edition. There's absolutely no reason as a gamer you shouldn't try it. It's literally one of the greatest games ever made. Moving down that list, we're going back to probably one of the best games as well, which is Indiana Jones: Fate of Atlantis. And this game is awesome. If you like Indiana Jones, if you like all of that, this game is for you because the storytelling, the dialogue is fantastic. Genzo says, I'm sure there's another game you'll get to, but I remember there's literally only one place scene you can die, and the game kind of makes fun of you for finding it. Well, there was let me actually pull that up. I'll show you the rubber tree moment in Monkey Island. Rubber tree. Monkey. I think Space Quest also makes fun of it. But let's look at the rubber tree moment in Monkey Island that I was talking about. Here it is. So I was playing this game. This looks like the remaster, by the way. So watch. You're gonna go here, and you don't die in Monkey Island, but here, they kill you, and it shows you the old die screen, which is, oh no, you've really screwed up this time. Guess you'll never have to start over. Hope you saved the game. And this is kind of a trope where it's making fun of you, and it's self-aware that you can't die in this game. And you see how he bounces back, and he says, rubber tree. It's just a classic moment where a game is self-aware and also breaks the fourth wall. But Genzo, that's an example of one that kind of makes fun of it. But I think I probably know what you're talking about. I'm talking about the Neverhood. Okay. Is this it? I don't know if I've ever played Neverhood. Oh, no, here it is. This is one I didn't pull up, actually. Huh. What's up, Nintendork? Good to see you, man. Welcome. Welcome to the cafe, by the way. It's good to have you, sir. Talking about point-and-click adventure games today. This is cool, Genzo. I got to look into this one. I actually didn't play this one. But I guess you die a lot or something? Interesting. Huh. All right, moving on to one of my favorites. I keep saying everyone is my favorite because all these games are amazing. Sam & Max Hits the Road was so cool. One of my favorites. Probably one of my all-time favorites. Sam & Max Hits the Road is definitely worth playing. It's very cartoony. It's got great character development. I mean, you got a talking dog detective and his accomplice rabbit, or his sidekick rabbit. Really, really a fantastic game. And as you can see, just really fun art. Hitting home on that pixel art, but kind of taking it to a little bit of a next level. So good, so good, so good. All right, going down, we're getting close to the sequel to Maniac Mansion, and also considered one of the best games ever made, is Day of the Tentacle, which is basically the successor to Maniac Mansion. And also, you can get this game remastered, but it is also, without a doubt, very fantastic. And you can see all the adjectives on the bottom. Still using the same style they used for Maniac Mansion, but in this case... and thanks for redeeming some of the cafe points, by the way. Appreciate that. But yeah, this was so good, this game. Look at the art. Look at Ben Franklin. So good. All right. We're getting close to the end here. Now, after Day of the Tentacle and what ended up happening towards the end of this era is that there's a game called Myst that comes out, right? Now, it's a point-and-click adventure game, surprisingly, that becomes super popular, but it's more of a 3D environment point-and-click adventure game. And why I'm bringing up Myst is because this is kind of where the decline of point-and-click adventure games, the way we knew them, the way they were intended, started to fall off, and that gamers started to not be into adventure games like that anymore. They wanted more. They wanted 3D platformers. They wanted more control of the characters, because in point-and-click adventure games, that's what you do. You point and click, and the game does the rest. So Myst kind of took us out of the way we knew how to play a point-and-click adventure game and started to put us into these 3D environments. And it's very important to note that, hey, what's up, Al? It's good to see you, man. Good morning. My wonderful friend. Hey, it's great to see you, man. We're talking about point-and-click adventure games. We're almost through. Just talking about the decline now. But what's cool is that even though there was the decline, Sierra still put out a few games. And The Dig is honestly... Actually, they released a book about The Dig after the game came out. And I read this book. And The Dig is awesome. It's like you're an astronaut and you crash land on a planet. And everything goes awry, and all your astronaut buddies die. It's so good. Or I think one of them gets kidnapped. I forget what happens, but this game is so freaking good. One of my favorites too. I don't know if anyone has played this. And Al, man, it's good to see you. You and Biff are some OGs from the old video game chat days, or I'm sorry, comedy night days. Go down that rabbit hole again. All right, as we're closing out on the end of the show, I cannot forget Full Throttle, which is a fantastic game. I think Tim Schafer created the guy who owns Double Fine and does Psychonauts and so forth. Al says, I appreciate the concept of point-and-click games, but I never got too interested in them. And you know what, Al? That's pretty interesting because you're a lot younger. You skew a lot younger. But I like to say that the reason people got into point-and-click adventure games, and a big kind of reason for that was the graphic limitations we had, and point-and-click adventure games were able to give us quality graphics in a sense with great design, just really cool backgrounds and sceneries, while giving us a chance to be able to adventure in a game. And Full Throttle, without a doubt, is a classic. Unbelievable, great game. And it was kind of in the mid to late 90s that we started to see this. A few more here. One that kind of came out towards the tail end, and one that has a really just such a cool story, is Grim Fandango, which is kind of like about a detective that it takes place on the Day of the Dead. But what's interesting about the story of Grim Fandango is when you die, you have to go on a journey to your death. Like once you die, you journey to your afterlife. And Grim Fandango is actually a detective to make sure that when you die, that there are cases where you die and it wasn't you weren't supposed to die. And the game is just an adventure where you're just kind of figuring out a case, and it takes place in this kind of purgatory, half-dead, weird world. And it's honestly considered by far one of the craziest and coolest stories for a point-and-click adventure game, and just a story in general. I really wish they would remake this game and give it maybe like an open world Grim Fandango adventure, because the story itself, and it's got a lot of Latin undertones. It deals with the Day of the Dead and the stories behind that and what that means. It's really, really cool. Acid says, I played a decent one recently from PS Plus called 2064 Read Only Memories. Interesting. Looks like Angela Anaconda episode. That's really cool. Thanks, Acid. And then Al says they've got a Full Throttle remaster on Xbox. Yeah, if you got Game Pass, download the remaster because it's really good. Now, I wanted to circle back to Space Quest, which this is Space Quest 6. And I actually have a complete in-box Space Quest. But I want to talk about Space Quest before we finish the show today, because Space Quest is probably one of the best games. And the character of Zap Brannigan has a lot of the same characteristics and funny undertones as Roger Wilco, who's our wonderful protagonist here. And this game was just so freaking good. Just look at this beautiful design. And it's so good because it makes fun of sci-fi movies. It makes fun of Star Wars. It makes fun of Star Trek. It makes fun of Babylon 5. It makes fun of Battlestar Galactica. If you are a sci-fi fan, I challenge you to download the collector's edition and play this series. It's not only great, it's just funny. It's hilarious. And this one is the later ones. And as you can see, the graphics got really good, just really cool design. And actually, I remember this part. You have to find a file. This is hard. Like, I remember I was stuck at this part for days. Biff says, Sierra has so many legendary games. I don't pretend to understand Brannigan's Law. I just enforce it, Kiff. Oh, good old Zap Brannigan. Rest in peace, Phil Hartman. And before we get out of here, just want to kind of talk about how did that... I don't think point-and-click adventure games ever died. They've still around, but they're in different formats. Like Telltale is a good example of the modern point-and-click adventure game. The Walking Dead series, all the games they've put out, I think they did like a Game of Thrones one. They've done Battlestar Galactic ones. They've done all kinds of really... That's not it. Oh, no, they did the Lego one. I forgot about that. Or the Minecraft one. But this is the Back to the Future one, which is really good, actually, if you've never played it. But these are kind of like the evolution of the point-and-click adventure games. And Telltale, which love Telltale games, and it's probably a testament to why I play a lot of like Telltale games, is because it kind of brings back that vibe, the point-and-click adventure vibe, with a little bit more intense graphics and story-driven, backgrounds. But it's still, you're choosing situations. It's still got all the undertones and themes of what we learned from all that. The Batman was decent. They cover a lot. That's really cool. Yeah, the Batman one was pretty good. I got Spider-Man PS4 yesterday at Target for $20. I'm absolutely loving it so far. But Spider-Man PS4 has nothing to do with point-and-click adventure games, but it's damn good, Al. It's damn good. I also recommend the new one. The Miles Morales one is really good. And finally, a game I played recently that kind of definitely folds in everything I loved about a point-and-click adventure game with everything modern is Detroit Being Human. If you all haven't played this game, it is amazing. I played this on my PS5 at my girlfriend's house, and she saw how much I love this game. I know Tao's probably watching, but I absolutely love this game. If you want to play a modern point-and-click adventure game with really amazing story-driven anecdotes, like you can change, the story is never the same when you play this game. You can play through this. Oh, okay. Spider-Man is a point and THP. It's okay, Al. I love it, man. It's great. Detroit is so good, though. And what I'm trying to get at here is that this is kind of like a love story to where we came from to where we are now with the point-and-click adventure games. And I think that this is the modern-day point-and-click adventure game. Now, another great game by these guys is Heavy Rain, Evil Within, Beyond Two Souls. Really some great games that bring back that love that I always liked. I never would have thought of the Telltale series as a point-and-clicks, but it's a great way of looking at it from a more modern, up-to-date perspective. Absolutely, Al. That's kind of like my take. Obviously, it's not a point-and-click, but you're still making decisions. You still have to solve things, and things you do affect the story. And I think a lot of the love and appreciation for point-and-click adventure games and how they were architects, the architecture behind them, is living in these games today. I gotta play. I have Until Dawn. I haven't played it yet, but I'm gonna be playing it soon. And on Twitter, a few days ago, I asked, "What's your favorite point-and-click adventure game of all time?" And you could see all the love people give. You know, people drop names: Sam & Max Hit the Road, Police Quest, King's Quest, Space Quest 3. So much love. Like, look at all the comments. Oh, and there's the game you mentioned, Genzo. I have to check this out. Zach McCracken, Space Quest, all these wonderful people sharing. There's the dig, sharing all the games they love. Look at all the comments, folks. This is how much people loved point-and-click adventure games. All the amazing love that they gave in just asking the universe on Twitter, what are your favorite point-and-click adventure games? And they commented and just commented down this list, and I'm scrolling down just tons. And Tumbleweed Park is a modern point-and-click adventure game that has the same themes and plays like an old one. I actually love this. Thimbleweed Park, sorry. Really good game as well. But look at all the love these people are giving. It's really fantastic. I'm still scrolling here. You ever played D&D on the NES? Died so many times. Yes, I did. Cool game, though. But look at this, man. But I would love to hear in chat, anyone that's been listening, you know, tell me in chat, what is your favorite point-and-click adventure game? Of all the point-and-click adventure games I went over today, I would love to see in chat, what are your favorite? Like, what is your favorite one of all time? If you could answer like all these wonderful people. And that's the end. Wow, a lot of people. Well, folks, that's it. We've done a full hour today. We've gone really deep into the history and love for point-and-click adventure games, a type of game genre that is beloved till this day. Themes of it are still part of it. And just want to remind you all, I will be at the Retro Game Swap for about an hour today, checking out retro games. We're going to be shooting some content there, and I'll show it next week on Saturday's episode. And I'm excited to say that next week's episode, we're finally going to talk about pinball. And Nintendork 977, who actually was in chat, is going to be like not a pinball wizard, but he collects pinball. He knows pinball. We're finally going to do an episode about pinball. So I'm so excited about that. So check it out next Saturday. We're going to be here talking about pinball, and it's going to be awesome. No fear. Thank you so much for stopping by. Let's raid someone before we head out today. Let's see who we're going to raid here. Who's good to raid? Thanks, Acid. Hey, thanks for coming by. I think you've been new to the team, right? You've been kind of new to the cafe, right? And remember, everyone, if you're not already in the Discord, join the Discord. We give away games all week. We talk about retro games, and I share a lot of my content in there as well. So please come by and join it. We'll give some love to our good friend 90s Nick, because 90s Nick has the coolest setup in the world. So let's give him some love when we raid him today, and we call it a good weekend. I hope everyone has a safe weekend. Let's give 90s Nick a shout out. Again, remember, you can find me here on all my socials below. I'm on Twitter. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. We're on YouTube now, so don't forget to check out the YouTube. And remember, everyone, be kind to people. Be smart about decisions you make out there in the world, because it matters and affects people. And remember, help control the pet population by getting your pets spayed or neutered. Take care, everyone. I'll talk to you soon. And thanks, Acid. We hope to see you more. Please join the Discord, everyone. Come hang out with us. We'll see you next time. Let's give Nick some love.